Hello everyone, welcome back to the Rocks and Change YouTube channel. My name's Fleur Hastings and today I'm going to show you how to open and close a jump ring properly. Is there a correct way to open and close a jump ring? Does it matter if you're left-handed or right-handed? Does it matter how far you open the jump ring? Does it matter what pliers you're using to open your jump rings? All the answers are yes, it does matter. If you want your chainmail or your jump rings to close perfectly and look seamless all the way through your design. So, hopefully after this little short video, you're not going to have any more Pringle-shaped jump rings, no more egg-shaped jump rings, no more scratchy jump rings either. So, grab your pliers, grab your jump rings, and let's get practicing. So, before we get on to opening and closing our jump rings correctly, what pliers do we need? So all these pliers that you've got here in front of you have all got the same characteristic. They've all got flat, smooth jaws on the inside. So the only pair of pliers that you really can't use for chainmail are your round nose pliers, and obviously your cutters as well. But your round nose pliers are not suitable for chainmail. You need to have this smooth jaw on the inside and quite a flat jaw. Now I've got pliers here that are, so these are the same type of plier. So these are both, I'll just move those out of the way. So we can see on these pliers, they're both flat nose pliers. So they both have these flat noses on them. So this is what we call the nose here. They're both blunt, flat, but you can see the diameter is wider on the silver pair than it is on this black pair. Okay, so sometimes they just come in different shapes and forms. These are better for wider, thicker jump rings. These are better for slightly thinner jump rings. You can get pliers that have got like tweezer nose, so they're very, very small nose, but again, they still have that flat on the inside. You can get chain nose pliers. So with chain nose pliers, we've got a rounded edge on the outside and a flatter jaw on the inside. We can get chisel nose pliers. Okay, so you can see here we've got that chisel nose. These were designed for chainmailers in mind, so that when you're holding on to that jump ring, you still have it within those large jaws on the inside, but you can see where you're going. So from the top, you can see it's tapered down, so your view of that jump ring isn't disturbed at all. You can get little stubby nose pliers. So these pliers have got very short noses. If I bring these ones in to show you, you can see these have got very short noses. So these ones are going to be better for slightly thicker, heavier jump rings. Okay, and then lastly, we've got things called bent nose pliers. So bent nose pliers, these ones are at an actual angle. These ones are more of a curve. So we've got different kinds of pliers. All of them will all do the same job, and it's personal preference which ones you like. Okay, so now we're going to get started on how to open and close our jump ring. So I've got my jump rings here. In this case, I've got quite large jump rings just so you can see it a little bit easier. These ones are bare copper. They're around about a 6.5 inner diameter. I think they're on a 1.25 wire diameter. But we're going to take one to start with, and we're just going to take 2 pairs of pliers. Now in all my YouTube videos, I tend to use these 2 pairs of pliers. I personally find this is a great combination because I've got my bent nose, and with bent nose you can use them in 2 ways. So you can hold a jump ring with the actual curved section, so with the end here, or if you've got a nice thick chunky jump ring, you can hold it in the back section there, and again we've got nice smooth jaws, so we're not going to mark that jump ring. Okay, now I tend to use my bent nose pliers in my non-dominant hand and my chisel nose in my dominant hand. Okay, now does it matter where we hold a jump ring when we're opening and closing it? The answer is yes, it does matter where we're holding it. If we were to hold a jump ring here and here and try and open it, what's going to happen is you're going to bend the jump ring in the middle, and that's where we're going to get our Pringle shape. Do we open and close the jump ring east to west or west to east? Do we pull it this way apart? So do we open it like this and then try and get it back together? No, we never open a jump ring like that. Excuse the dog growling. Someone's just delivered something. So, all right, Dolly. So we never open a jump ring west to east or east to west. We never pull it apart to get it on. The way that we open a jump ring is we open it like a door, okay? So we open it or like a gate. So we're going to open it north to south. Now, can you see I'm holding this? So this is quite a big jump ring. If I hold it here and here, I've not got a lot of control in these pliers. So I'm going to turn these pliers around and I'm going to control half of that jump ring. So you can now see that half of that jump ring has disappeared within those jaws of those pliers, which means that that's stabilized. With my dominant hand, I'm right-handed, so my dominant hand is my right hand. I'm going to come in at about 3 o'clock, okay? So you can see there, I'm holding it about 3 o'clock. What I'm going to do is I'm opening the jump ring towards my non-dominant hand, okay? So I'm pulling it towards me. So right-handed people, right hand comes towards you, okay? How far do we have to open our jump ring? That is far enough. That will be able to get into a lot of places. Sometimes you have to open it a little bit further. Sometimes you have to open it not as much if there's a lot of jump rings in your way. But that is perfect. Perfect kind of sort of like gap to open it. So you can see it's not very far. Now, because we've pulled this part towards us, the end of our jump ring is pointing away, which makes it easier to scoop up our jump rings. Okay, so you can see here, I'm quite happily scooping up all of those jump rings because the end is pointing away from me when I'm right-handed. Okay, so we're going to do left-handed in a minute. So don't think I'm going to leave you out because I'm not. Okay, so end is pointing away from us. Very easy to go along and pick up our jump rings. Okay, so that's opening your jump ring. Now to close your jump ring, it's exactly the same. Only one hand moves. So again, we put our jump ring into our non-dominant hand. We can see there now the gap. We're going to put our pliers back about 3 o'clock. Now, metal has a memory. Certain metals have more of a memory or a spring back than others. So if you've worked with bronze before, that has quite a big spring back. It sort of fights against you to go back together, and brass does as well. Whereas things like aluminium, sterling silver, they're copper of lower gauges than this one, very easy to close. But what we want to do to get this flush, we're going to take our jump ring and we're going to take it to where it meets. We're going to go past where it meets and then bring it back, and you'll feel a little click, if you like. Okay, so a little click. I don't even get it to do it, I can't hear it, but you can see now how those edges will align back up perfectly. You just heard that little click there. I've now got my edges aligned perfectly, so we can just see where that cut is there, but our edges are now perfectly aligned. So if I was to get another jump ring and I open it again, so I'm holding it firmly in my non-dominant hand, open just a little bit with the right hand, so it's only the right hand when you're right, or your dominant hand that's moving. I can then link these together again, hold onto that jump ring and close that back up. Just give it a little wiggle. You heard the little click there, and get used to looking at it from all angles. Okay, now sometimes if it's like a single one-in-one chain like this, I'll use my finger just to run my finger across just to make sure that there's no sharp edges. And there we've got two jump rings which are perfectly close together. Now if you're left-handed, I'm going to swap over my pliers. If you're left-handed, it's exactly the same. Your non-dominant hand is holding onto your jump ring, and your dominant hand is coming towards you. Okay, so all the time this end is pointing away. Now I'm not very good with my left hand, so I probably won't be able to pick up jump rings as well, because I'm not left-handed, so I do find it a little bit more difficult. But you can see, because this end is pointing away, when you go and scoop up the jump rings, they will go onto there for you. And then to close this jump ring up, holding it in your non-dominant hand, so in this case your right hand, and just move your left hand backwards and forwards. You heard the little click there. Like I say, some jump rings don't click, some do. Okay, so don't always just think that that's a good closure if you hear the click. You've got to actually check it as well. But we can see here, and I'm just going to close this one as well, just so we've got that one looking perfect. Okay, and there we've got our jump rings closed. So if we were going to use different kinds of pliers, so you can see these are wubber pliers. These I've got very long handles on them. These need a bit of TLC. Look, they're a bit. These stay on my soldering bench, so they need a little bit of TLC. So if I take these, and let's take some chain nose. So this time we've got flat nose and chain nose. I'm going to swap them over. I'm going to pick up a jump ring, holding it in my dominant hand, non-dominant hand, sorry. Use my dominant hand to give that a little wiggle backwards and forwards until we get that little click. So hopefully you heard that little click. Keep taking it out of shot, I'm so sorry. There we go. You'll obviously have yours a lot closer to you than I've got these ones. Okay, now we've got our nice closure. Now, larger jump rings can be more difficult to close and get a smooth closure than small jump rings. Small jump rings tend to be a little bit easier because you've got more control over all of the metal which you're working with. So in this case, we've got one that's already pre-opened, and I'm just going to take my pliers, give it a little wiggle backwards and forwards, and there we've got our lovely closed jump ring. So we never open a jump ring. I'll do it to this one. We never open a jump ring east to west, because we fracture the circle and we can never get it back. It's very difficult to do it. So we never open it like this, never open it like that. We never use our round nose pliers. We always use 2 pairs of flat nose, chain nose, chisel nose, whatever kind of pliers you like, as long as they have that smooth, flat jaw on the inside. Doesn't matter if they're curved at the top, it's all personal preference. They can have little chisel ends on them as well, all personal preference. But whichever ones that you get on with, stick with them. If your hands get a little bit fatigued when you're opening and closing jump rings, just switch up to a different pair, because when you hold them in your hand, the end of your pliers will fatigue one part of your hand. So we can see there where those are. If I bring these pliers in, we can see that it's a good old distance away from where that last fatigue point was. So a lot easier then to carry on doing your chainmail. Hope you've enjoyed this little video on how to open and close jump rings and what pliers to use. If you have, please subscribe to my channel, give it a thumbs up, thumbs down, give me a comment, and until next time, I'll see you very soon.